Grand evening, everyone. It is Monday, June 8th, 2026. It is 2100 hours and 21 minutes, meant to start a minute ago. Central Daylight Time here in the United States. And we have even more to talk about. And the war has especially fully resumed to full operation as it was sometime in April. I think it might have been April 8th. Some of the mainstream media and all sources like that have been saying. So it especially has fully resumed because Iran launched about 10 missiles at Israel, and Israel later on, within that same several hours, retaliated on Iran, and it has been going back and forth, full scale war operations since. We're going to start all the way over here, right around here. So, shortly after that, those first attacks, and I see we have my friend Towernator in the chat. This is initially a live stream recording that is posted to my YouTube channel and right here on X. I actually posted it to here on X before starting for the first time as a change. That's a great and positive change for this brand new week. That's a different type of change than there has been so far this week in recent days. It's been a lot of war escalation, intensifications. A lot is happening now. So we have this here, right here on the bottom. And again, this was shortly after the first of the retaliatory strikes that Israel did on Iran. It seems there's the possibility that Iran has threatened to nuke Israel. This is not first-hand reporting, though he is a great account and he is a verified account here, Nostra. And he said that Netanyahu said that Iran was going to nuke them there in Israel. So they are now admitting that Iran has nuclear weapons, as they've had weeks and months to do so to finish their nuclear weapons development on their own. And I've talked about in the past that North Korea might have given them nuclear weapons, or Russia is another possibility for that. So it is very likely that Iran has nuclear weapons. That could have been Netanyahu himself admitting that Iran has nuclear weapons, and they could use these nuclear weapons on Israel and the US even now if they have the range to do it. So very concerning, very serious news there. That is a very concerning possibility. We could see Israel, especially, get nuked by Iran in the coming days. That could happen at any moment, I would say. Iran has had months of preparation and time to finish their development of nuclear weapons and other nuclear power capabilities. Let's see here. Then we also have this here. This is domestic news from Leading Report and the Daily Mail. And right here at the bottom, declassified CIA files allege U.S. plans to control the world by manipulating the weather. So we've had weather manipulation for some time now, and it has been more evident around the time of the hurricanes about 2 years ago. Great example was one of the hurricanes that went towards the west coast of Florida, and it put Fort Myers pretty much underwater. National Guard was deployed. Even Sarasota got massively damaged. A lot of the hurricanes the last 2, 3 years and beyond that have been manipulated and intensified and turned through some technologies that have patents to them as well. There are patents for weather manipulation technologies out there that can be researched. So very interesting. We have these new CIA files that have been declassified admitting that the US has plans to also control the world by manipulating the weather, since that is a very powerful thing to do, and the US military has a lot of highly advanced technologies that are hundreds of years ahead in the military bases, certain military bases, hidden military bases related to Area 51. They do mostly advanced flight testing, and maybe they do have certain other highly classified and hidden technologies there at Area 51, though they certainly do have them at other hidden military bases that are more lesser known. So, very interesting bit of news there. And then we have this here, President Trump potentially admitting, well, he's really just saying this for the most part, though President Trump told the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu that he could be left alone against Iran. And President Trump also said, you'd better be careful what you do because you could be left alone against Iran very soon. So I knew this was one of the possibilities that President Trump could do. He's either going to go all in and fully bomb and destroy Iran as he's threatened to do multiple times, to obliterate Iran, or he's going to withdraw everything and leave there and think that's going to solve any problem. Someone can't start and get into a war and then stop halfway. The enemies have not been defeated. The war would still be ongoing even if every U.S. troop withdrew. The Strait of Hormuz and the other strait would still be closed. There would still be the nuclear threat from Iran, other terrorist threats from Iran and their proxies. So that would not be a smart idea, withdrawing from the Middle East. Watch what he does, not what he says. As for President Trump, it's a perfect example. Shortly after this came out, that it was a leak of some kind, the U.S. quietly deployed the 82nd Airborne paratroopers to Israel amid Trump's commando raid threats. So around the same time President Trump was even saying that, it could have just been some kind of feint by President Trump trying to deceive Iran, thinking that the U.S. is going to get out of there anytime soon, to try to like trick them to think that the U.S. is going to leave, which is absolutely unlikely, not likely to happen at all. It would not be smart. And we have evidence that it was more of a trick, because the 82nd Airborne, very advanced and elite Army paratroopers, have been deployed to Israel. And that is for further preparation and further deployment into the war there in the Middle East, around Israel, Lebanon, Iran, maybe even the Houthis in Yemen, all of that. It is a massive war going on. It is World War III, though the Middle Eastern front is where the war is at its largest right now. It's very widespread all throughout the Middle East. So 82nd Airborne, likely other special forces have been deployed throughout the Middle East now. Then we have this further domestic news. The Bank of America says investors should take profits, citing too many red flags in the stock market. So they're saying, they're trying to tell all investors to get out of the stock market, take the profits out. There's too many red flags in the stock market. The stock market is going to collapse, and the crypto market is also going to collapse. So, as I said there, wise advice from the Bank of America. The stock market is not a thing to be in now at all. It's going to absolutely go to the floor more, especially towards the end of this week, and as the war continues. Eventually it's just going to totally collapse soon, very soon. And the crypto market, same thing. The crypto market and cryptocurrencies are not a safe haven. They're all digital assets. One EMP, a nuclear weapon detonated in the right place, there goes all the crypto. Oh, wow, they're so rich and have so much money in the crypto market. No, it all disappears with an EMP or a nuclear weapon well placed. And speaking of nuclear weapons and escalations, we will get into that shortly here. There is more of that. More domestic news here first. The USDA has confirmed 2 additional cases of the flesh-eating screwworm parasite in Texas. It's in southern Texas more. It started somewhere further south, and then it appeared about over 5 miles away in another area. So 2 more cases of the flesh-eating screwworm parasite here in Texas. It is actually a state of disaster here in Texas because of that. That is a huge problem. They are these flies that fly around and they lay the eggs in the wounds of mammals, even humans. If it's a big enough wound and the flies show up to a human, it could be the same problem that cows and cattle and bulls deal with. So very concerning. It is a state of disaster here in Texas declared by Governor Abbott, the current governor here. Then we had a massive, at least 6.4 magnitude earthquake hit right around Cuba. It's also from the USGS. It's a very accurate source for the most part. There are some incompletions, some incomplete data with that, as I've seen earlier from another source. It was actually Stefan Burns. He is a great geophysicist and also does a lot of his work on YouTube and here on X. He talks about a lot of geological and geophysical events and energetic things when it comes to the sun and space. He really gets into the energetic explanation of things often. And then we have this here. This strait is closed. It's officially fully closed. Iran says it has fully closed the Bab al-Mandeb Strait following Israeli strikes. At least 12% of world trade passes through it. So the strait on both sides, this is more on western side. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The Bab al-Mandeb Strait near Yemen is now also closed. Now we are looking at well over 30% of oil and trade, oil specifically, being closed off to the rest of the globe, to the rest of the world. So that's closed off. That's going to have huge effects on the entire world as it is a global economy. Also, very serious, very concerning news there. That is going to cause everything to absolutely skyrocket. That's for 12% of the entire world's trade that passed through that strait. It is now fully closed, just as the Strait of Hormuz is fully closed. Then this here from a study and the insider paper here on the bottom. Global nuclear weapons spending hit a record high in 2025. That's from a study, and that is very, very good evidence of the total preparation and full preparation for the possibility of nuclear war. They've been spending a lot on nuclear weapons, preparing them, and they are about to be further deployed. And we talked about the Baltic states, like Latvia, likely other European countries more. We can't forget that France, as it says here, France, their nuclear arsenal has grown from 290 warheads in 2025 to 370 in 2026 so far. That is by about 30% in 1 year. So the nuclear arsenal is growing all throughout the world, especially there in France. Over about 30% in a single year. And that is also reported by the SIPRI yearbook 2026, whatever that is. That's another source for that, and this Russian account, it seems. So huge and total nuclear escalation with all of that, the spending on nuclear weapons, the growth of nuclear weapons. This didn't say nuclear development, it specifically says nuclear weapons and nuclear arsenals. So those are growing, and Israel and the US and the world itself, I countries, are at a very high risk for nuclear war now, as everything is setting up that way. And Israel was likely threatened, and Israel might have full intelligence that says Iran has nuclear weapons. We really could see a nuclear weapon being detonated in Israel. It's a very small country. It would only take maybe a few. And Iran has had the time, all of the time, to develop and line all of that up to do that. So very concerning. As for the nuclear news, that is very much growing. The spending is going way up for them. Things are very much heading in that nuclear direction, as is commonly thought of when it comes to World War III, that we are now in the 14th week of. It's been over 2 months of this phase of World War III, the total kinetic phase. Things are approaching more of the nuclear phase, and we could also potentially see President Trump use nuclear weapons on Iran to destroy their underground missiles. They got underground missile subways of sorts. They have them under mountains there in Iran. And one of the only ways to destroy them is with a nuclear weapon. So that could be done on at least the tactical nuclear level, or they're going to do a very advanced special military operation for that, and to do more with the their missile systems there in Iran and more other very important sites there in Iran. They'll need thousands of special forces to do all of that. So it is more likely that nuclear weapons will be used in the Middle East very soon. We could see that in Iran very soon. We could see that in Israel very soon. Any moment that could happen. So please keep on preparing. Do not get complacent. It is very evident right there that the world is preparing for possible nuclear war. That is very much the direction it is going. Things are massively intensifying. There is going to be much more war from now on. From not now on, from since the last 24 hours. I think it's less than 24 hours that things have resumed, fully resumed to total war operations there, especially in the Middle East. We can't forget about Russia, what they are about to do with Ukraine more, and the Baltic states. We could very much, it is very likely to see Russia move on the Baltic states preemptively so that those nuclear weapons aren't put on their doorstep. That's exactly what it is over there. It's right on Russia's doorstep. So we could see further Russian invasions, especially starting in the Baltic states more and going all throughout Europe. The full war between NATO and Russia is yet to further intensify, and it will, I predict, very soon do exactly that. All of NATO against Russia and its allies, such as China, Iran, more, North Korea, Belarus. It's going to very much more intensify. There's nearly no possibility of peace agreements or a deal when it comes to the US, Israel, and Iran. That's not going to happen. That's failed. Maybe there could be another ceasefire for a time in the future. It is highly unlikely. There's almost no negotiating with Iran. They are more of a terrorist regime. They're a very religious extremist regime that conducts terroristic activities and supports terrorist groups. That's their proxies like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. Now, there's nothing wrong with the Palestinian people. They're not terrorists. Hamas is a more terrorist group, especially after what they did around that time. That October 7th event was very evident of Hamas being a terrorist group. They're not just freedom fighters. That's hardly what they are. There are people in Palestine, the Palestinian area, that are freedom fighters and good people trying to get a free Palestine area, though Hamas are and have been proven to be a terrorist group. So are the Houthis, so are Hezbollah. All three of them are proxies of Iran. Iran fully supports them. There's no negotiating with the regime that fully supports those groups and fully supports their extreme ideologies and insane things, some of them, to do with their religion. They are very much religious extremists that conduct often terrorist activities. So we could also expect the price of oil to absolutely skyrocket, especially with about 30% or more being cut off from the entire world now. And the price of precious metals like gold and silver, I expect will easily go back to over $5,000 per ounce soon, likely by the end of the summer at most. The price of oil will go to $200 per barrel, likely sooner than expected since this other strait has closed just as fully as the Strait of Hormuz has. So please keep on preparing physically, mentally, and spiritually. I always recommend physical assets like the ones I've just mentioned, gold and silver, having them physically near you and in a physical place that you and maybe few others know. The most trusted of them, if others. Everything is massively intensifying when it comes to this war. The prices of everything is going to absolutely skyrocket. Such are these times, such is this war. Though after it all, it will be far better than it is now in time. One day, people have to survive to the other side of this world war and thrive more than people have even after World War II. It will be on another level entirely. We could even have some kind of divine and alien intervention that happens before humanity ends this war itself. There is that possibility as well. That is another great thing to learn about. I recommend starting with the starseed races when it comes to aliens. Not all aliens are malevolent. Very few are. The grays are, like the ones that are so often depicted, those gray aliens with the big black eyes. Those are mostly malevolent. Not all of the others are. Not at all. And energy itself does not lie. I will talk about more of those things in time, though for now, this one has gone on for long enough here tonight. It has gone on for maybe 30 minutes. I gotta look. Yep, over 30 minutes. So that will do it for tonight. I will be back soon with further news. I will be continuing to monitor everything going on. I do always, day and night, very often. So, as always, love, light, and blessings to you all.